Hello, my name is Eric Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about enlightenment can happen without anything. This is kind of the general answer to many of the questions that I get or I see on Quora, for example. I don't know how many times I've seen questions like, is a guru required for enlightenment? No, a guru is not required. Is going to satsangs required for awakening? No, it's not. Is sadhana, like meditation, required for enlightenment? No, it isn't. And the reason none of this is required is because none of it can cause enlightenment. Enlightenment does not depend on any of this. It does not matter if you have got a guru or you go to satsangs or you do sadhana, if you meditate, you do self-inquiry, yada, yada, yada. If you read the right books, listen to the right teachers, it's not about any of this. None of this will cause enlightenment. And so that's why I wanted to make this video today, to make it, to say quite clearly, enlightenment can happen without anything. It doesn't need anything. But I don't want to say that all of it has no use whatsoever. What some of this may provide is a more conducive environment. There was a clever Zen master who once said, enlightenment is an accident. Meditation makes us accident prone. And, it's funny how it's admitting that it's an accident and that meditation doesn't cause it, but it does make it more conducive. It makes you accident prone. It's kind of like when you want to fall asleep at night. What do? You go into a dark and quiet room, you lay down, you get comfortable. Does any of this cause sleep? No. A dark and quiet room doesn't cause sleep. Ask any insomniac. Or ask someone who doesn't want to fall asleep and is just, in a dark and quiet room. It doesn't cause sleep. Also, is it possible to fall asleep sitting in the sun? Well, of course. And so, a dark and quiet room is not required for sleep. But that's not to say it can't make falling asleep a little more, a little more conducive, because that's why we go into a dark and quiet room when we want to sleep, because it is easier to fall asleep in a dark and quiet room. And so that's where it's not a causal relationship, but it does make it more conducive. And so when it comes to awakening and enlightenment, I often say there's really only two things you can do. You can be still, silent, fully aware, not even thinking. You could call that being present, being mindful. There's names for a very similar thing. But you're just still, silent, fully aware, not even thinking. And that's not even really a doing. Now, the other thing that you can do, if after being still, silent, fully aware, not thinking, at some point you might get the urge or have the feeling, I get the feeling I must do something. I can't keep doing nothing. And if you insist on doing something, the other thing I suggest is to look at and diminish the me. And that's where these previous things I mentioned can become conducive. A guru may help point in such a way to help diminish the me, or may guide and suggest, just be still, silent, fully aware. Abide as silence, however they want to put it. But just, be still, silent. And like I said, gurus may point to, well, this may diminish the me. Look at the me, yada, yada. But satsang, same thing. It's just sitting, the major part of satsang is the silence. It's not the talking. It's not the questions and answers. The most significant portion of the satsang is sitting together in silence. And that makes a more conducive environment. And then the sadhanas, meditation, say practicing detachment, overcoming fear, integrating shadows, whatever. All these things are a way of diminishing the me or looking at the me, or both. And it's important to shake up this idea that of what we think we are, this me that we believe ourselves to be. If you look at it and investigate and examine it, you may see the false is false. And then you no longer identify with that. And that also makes it more conducive for awakening. Because awakening or enlightenment can sometimes be described as seeing what is as it is, specifically about who and what you are. It's very difficult to see who and what you really are if you are already absolutely sure you already know who you are. If you really think you are a man, woman, person, parent, all these roles, if you really believe this is who I am, I know that I'm this, you never doubt it. You never look further. The very fact of having this I know who I am is obscuring the ability to really delve into and look with open receptivity to perhaps see what is really there. Instead, we're caught up in concepts. We're caught up in identification. And so there's a possibility of sadhanas like meditation, self-inquiry, pretty much any spiritual practice. They may help look at or diminish the me. And of course, there's always the possibility that they turn counterproductive. Because if you are meditating and suddenly you become attached to the progress per se you've made in meditation, the spiritual experiences you might have had, the amount of time you've meditated, and it suddenly starts building up the me. It's like, look at me. I'm an established meditator. Look at all the time I've put in. Look at all the great experiences I've had. Next thing you know, it's now become more content to this is who I am. And that's not helping you see who you are. It's actually just further obscuring by adding more stuff of this is who I am. And so I don't need to look past this. And this is why other clever teachers, like some Zen masters, for example, would say it's important for there to be purposelessness. You should meditate without a purpose. All sadhana, all practice of all kinds should be done without a purpose. You shouldn't be trying to get anything out of it. Just doing the exercise. Because much of diminishing the me is a investigation of it and just looking. And you're not, instead of looking in order to get something out of it, just look for the sake of looking. And so you give up the purpose. And so when you meditate, which is just being still, silent, fully aware, I'm just doing this to be still, silent, fully aware. I'm not trying to get anything out of it. I'm not looking for some result, something that will come out of it if I do this enough. I'm just being still, silent, fully aware. That's it. That's the whole point. There's no further purpose, no further meaning to it. And if you do that, it makes it more difficult for a me to try to hijack the spiritual spiritual practice and potential progress you've made in the practice. Because if you're looking at the me and you're slowly diminishing the me, you don't want the me to backdoor in and go, look how much me has been removed. And suddenly it's starting to feel full in its emptiness. It's not the way to go. You just need to look at the me and see that you're not that. And so that is the point of today's video, is that these things are conducive to awakening and enlightenment happening. But don't think you're going to cause awakening or enlightenment through it. Don't have enlightenment or awakening as its purpose to do these things. And know that even if you didn't do any of them, there's still the possibility that awakening or enlightenment may happen. Not that it might be as likely. It's kind of like someone who's in a noisy, bright environment. Will it be as likely that they fall asleep? You know, arguably you could say no. They wouldn't fall asleep as often because there's too much noise and brightness going on. It's just simply easier for it to happen when it's a dark and quiet room. It's more conducive. And so these practices can create a more conducive environment, but can't cause awakening enlightenment. Don't make it the purpose and backdoor the ego's enhancement by doing these things. Anyways, if you've got any questions, comments, please post below. And until next time, thank you much.